then when I wrestle, I turn my head around, and then I go to town.
Man, I appreciate you doing this for us. As you know, I started doing interviews. It all started with Speedy. He was the first one. And then I didn't do anything for a long time. And then the next one was Jack Neary. And that kind of got me thinking, you know what? I need to do this. Obviously Speedy. Yeah, now I'm slumming it with you. No, but we have Speedy, right? Jack Neary, and of course those guys are freaking legends. But there's a lot of people. For example, Speedy and Jack Neary were once an F-Class John or whatever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and you do a lot for the sport, and this is why I want to talk to you, because there's just so much that you do, and it just oftentimes people don't even realize what's going on or what you guys do or any of that stuff. So anyway, that's why you're here. So those of you that don't know who you are, who is F-Class John?
I am F-Class John.
There you go. Believe it or not, now that they heard you, they recognize you because they've never probably seen your face.
Yeah, I had a guy last night at the range. In fact, this guy is a member of the club. We have my club is about 7,000 members.
Okay.
And I run the mid-range program there, and we don't have a long range, but we have a 600-yard range, and so I run it every Tuesday night. So this guy comes in last night, and he's like, "Hey, I heard you guys do this, and blah blah blah." And then I'm talking. He goes, "Are you F-Class John?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh my God, dude, I watch your videos." And then, he was really nice, but, he's just, "Oh, let me ask you some questions." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah." He's like, "Don't let me bug you. Don't let me bug you." And I'm like, "No, you can ask me some questions. It's fine." And I just it's hard, right? Sometimes, because I don't consider myself a celebrity or anything. So it's really hard for me when people come up to me like that, because I don't know how to handle it. Right. I think we all want some private time and we all want personal time, but once you put yourself in this venue, you're always on camera, right? And so I had to really kind of stop and be like, well, this guy watches my videos, and this guy helps pay some of my bills. I have to be conscious of that, and so it's hard sometimes. And it's not like it happens that often to me, but that's why, it's definitely an interesting thing, because people do hear my voice and they're not used to seeing my face. So, it's interesting.
Well, it's more than that, John. It's not only are you a celebrity, let's say celebrity, for lack of a better word, probably.
I don't know what else to call it.
But influencer. Okay.
Influencer. I hate that word too, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm getting at is, you are a trusted source of information. That's the bottom line. That's why they talk to you, right? Because you have proven not only that you are willing to share information, also that you are willing to go find the information, test the information, put it through its paces, and then pass it on, right?
Yeah.
That's why people, I think, gravitate to someone like you, because of that simple fact, right? There's a ton of people on YouTube, right? And they put out information, right? But most of it is information they've heard or information they've seen on another video, and stuff that they're testing, not, and they don't compete, or they just, it sounds good, so they put it out there for people to know, right? Yeah. You, on the other hand, are actually a competitor, and then you go and you test it. And I think that's the fact that you're a trusted source of information. I think is really what draws people to want to ask you questions versus anyone else.
I appreciate that. I can't say I've ever really thought of it in that exact, kind of frame, but I appreciate that.
All right. So who is F-Class John? You're F-Class John. Tell us what it is. Give us a little background information about you. I mean, most people know the F-Class John, and most people have never even seen your face. So I understand you want that privacy, but at the same time, we want to know.
Privacy's gone.
We want to know, who is F-Class John? Tell us as much as you can about yourself. And what I'm trying to figure out is, how do you get here? How do you get to this point, right? How do you get to you're friends. I'm friends with you because you're friends with some of my friends, which are some of the top shooters in the in the world, right? So how do you get to be friends with the pretty much some of the top shooters in the world, and how do you get mentored by those guys? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people are wondering that, and you know, so
no, I appreciate that. So quick history. I spent the better part of 10 years in the gun industry back in my 20s. I ran I was a manager for one of the largest gun stores in the country. So I have a lot of shooting background, but then I kind of went dark for a long time. I had some changes in my life. I didn't shoot probably from my mid to late 20s until I was 40. And when I moved back to Oregon, I kind of took back up the sport and just said, well, you know, like, what do I really want to do? Because I used to shoot some speed pistol, like IPSC type stuff, and I kind of sucked at it. And I just didn't have the money to invest in the guns to be like, let's face it, a lot of these sports have become, money runs, and IPSC's no different. And I don't even know if there is IPSC anymore, but when I was shooting IPSC, I was shooting limited class, and I was very underqualified with gear, and I wasn't a great shooter with pistol. So when I got back to shooting, I kind of said, well, what do I want to kind of put my focus on? And I'd always loved shooting rifle, but had never had any great long distance rifles. I just had like a 30-06 or something. And like a lot of people, this was early 2010 time, 2011, 12, something in there. And I said, well, okay, like I need a 300 Win Mag, and I need to, like, that's the sniper rifle, you know, like I had the sniper mentality in my head. And I thought, okay, like that's how people shoot long range. Like I didn't know any different at the time. And so I showed up to my club, and they, at the time, my club was about a year wait. And so I got lucky, and it was about 7 months. And then I finally got in. So I started going to the 600-yard matches, and I had went and bought this off the shelf Remington custom rifle that was a 308. And then I converted it to a box mag, and it was horrible. It was just horrible. I mean, it was expensively horrible. And I remember I went to a PRS match, in fact, with my one and only PRS match with it.
I did not know that about you.
Yes. I actually went to the dark side for a minute. And so I go, and I think, like, okay, like, how hard can this be? And so, you know, I had shot a little FClass at that point, and, you know, I had been punching centers, and I'm like, okay. So I go and I buy this rifle, and I convert it to a box mag, and I show up, and you know, everybody's just giving me like the get the hell out of here attitude, and, you know, you don't belong here kind of thing. And I probably didn't, but you know, I wasn't wearing camo, and you know, like it was a very different PRS back then. And so I show up, and I remember I get to this one stage, and they're like, well, you got to sit and shoot 5, then change and shoot 2, then kneel, then stand, and, you know, do a handstand and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. And I get about halfway through, and I'm like all mentally rattled, trying to hit these distances. And like, I felt like I was doing okay for my ability. And then by the end of the stage, I look down, and I'm just bleeding. Like, I'm bloody. Wow. And it was because I had this crappy, like, it wasn't crappy, but like it was a substandard installation of this Wyatt detachable box system on my 700, because it was all that was available back then.
Yeah.
And I had been rushing so hard, I didn't even realize I cut myself, and I'm like dripping blood, and there's blood on my brass, and the guys are laughing at me, and like nobody's really trying to help. And and I'm just like, this isn't for me. Like, this is like, I was like, I don't belong here. So I sold that gun, and then of course bought 3 Ruger Precisions in a row that I then realized weren't great for FClass, but that's a whole nother story. So
wait. You don't just freaking fly past that comment. Wait. Okay, I'm trying to add 2 and 2 here. So you went and shot a PRS match that didn't go well. That's fine. You know, it happens to a lot of people, but they were very inviting. Okay, I get it. You know, you didn't. Okay, fine. And then fine. You said earlier you said it was your one and only, but then you said you bought 3 Ruger RPR.
Yeah.
Did you start shooting FClass with the Ruger?
Well, so at that time, my club was not very established into what proper FClass was. Like FClass, they didn't even call it FClass. It was just like the 600-yard prone bench program.
Stop.
And a lot of guys shot off ski pods. And
stop. Did you or did you not shoot FClass with an RPR, or what is it?
So just hang on. So
so you're skirting the question.
No. There were not a lot of established F-class rifles, and so yes, I bought a first gen. They had just come out, and I'm like, this is going to be my gun to the championships. So I buy an RPR in 6.5 Creedmoor because it's a magic bullet, and I start loading because I had a lot of trouble with that 308 in that Remington, and I was like, everybody's like, no, 6.5, it's ballistically God, and I'm like, okay, great, I don't know any better, and so I buy it and I start loading for my. You're gonna mock me so bad on this story, so I buy this Gen 1 RPR. Now remember, this was pre like PRS blow up days when everybody went aftermarket. There was not a lot of stuff. I think what's the company? L something. They made bolts for the RPR, and they made some pre-fit barrels, and there weren't a lot of aftermarket parts for the RPR. But of course, I take my $1,200 RPR and put a $400 Magpul, buttstock on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, buttstock. I then go buy an LPL something, I can't remember. Anyway, I buy a $200 bolt for it. I went and bought, this is going to be the worst one for you. I went and bought a proof carbon fiber barrel for it.
Okay.
So I literally had like a 35. Oh, and then I had a back then Gen 1 or Gen 2 PST 6-24 lit reticle Viper or whatever it was. So I had like a $3,500 Ruger Precision, right? Which is like having a $10,000 Yugo. I mean, it's just ridiculous at the time. And it wasn't even like properly, like it wasn't even the right balance of stuff. And then on top of that, nobody made bag riders. Oh, well, first I went through my bipod phase. I had a Harris, then I had an Atlas. Then I went to a ski pod. Like I had everything mounted on that Ruger.
Yeah. All at once, right?
And then I went and shot like Oregon State Championships with it, and it was this whole just crippling thing. Or wait, that was by my third RPR. So I bought a second one so my daughter could shoot with me. Okay. So I had two RPRs that matched. So I had two $3,000 RPRs.
Okay.
Then sold one of those off and bought a second gen.
Wait,
and kept
how much did you sell it for?
So here's the crazy thing. I actually got like almost $4,000 in trade from a dude who took my RPR only because he wanted that proof barrel. And he traded me a Swaro spotter, a Leica binocular, and something else for the gun. And I'm like, when do you want to meet? And then I sold all. Oh, hell yeah. And then I sold all that. It was like an STX and some other stuff. I sold it all off, made my money back. Okay, so anyway, I'm at the end of my RPR phase, which was about a 6 to 12 month phase. I don't remember exactly. It was a very fast run, spending a crap ton of money, going down a rabbit hole that I didn't realize I was going down. And so I finally go to this Oregon State Championship, and I've got my Ruger Precision, and I'm shooting open class and not realizing that I'm shooting open class because I'm shooting 6.5 with a bipod.
Right.
And it's just a mess. So then I'm like, oh, my problem is I'm not shooting open. I need to get a bag rider for this thing. Mm-hmm. Like that's my problem.
Yeah, it's the only problem.
That's why I can't compete in open, because I'm not shooting on an open rest. So I go and buy a Caldwell Fire Control, which is actually for a couple $100 not a bad coax system. Mm-hmm. I go out and buy it, and then I had to makeshift my own bag rider, which was an absolute nightmare because nobody made it. So I had to retrofit an M-lock system to the front handguard, which, by the way, I bought like a $200 handguard for that thing. And yeah, literally the receiver was the only thing that was original to that RPR. So I had modded everything over to this Gen 2, sold off the other ones. I had just the one Gen 2 at this point. So I'm shooting, and then I go, oh, I'm shooting. So then I go to the next match, and I'm just struggling. My bag rider kept loosening up because of how it was working. And I'm shooting like in the 170s or 180s, just tanking. And I know I can shoot better than that. And I was just frustrated. So a buddy of mine, this guy, Bill, who's one of the nicest guys. You would know him. I'd rather not use last names, but this guy, Bill, who shoots with us in Oregon, one of the most generous guys you'll ever meet. A lot like Todd, right? Like somebody struggling, he's going to do whatever he can do because he cares about the sport, right? And this guy comes up to me. He doesn't really know me. He's shot with me a couple times at our club. And he's like, John, come here. He goes, your gun sucks. And
that oftentimes is the best thing people can tell you.
And I go, yeah, I'm struggling. And he goes, come here. And he does just like Todd would do, right? He comes, he goes, hang on. He opens up the back of his truck and he's got like 4 rifle cases. And he's like, and he unzips them and he's like, no. And he pulls out, I'll never forget, it was this Remington red, it was his red gun. He pulls it out and he goes, okay, he puts it back in. He goes, here, hands me the case. And he goes, and he's got like duct tape on the side. He's got numbers written. He goes, where's the ammo? Okay, here's the box of the ammo. Here, go shoot this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now, mind you, the entire match I'd been shooting, and we're shooting 20 shot strings. I had been shooting like 170s, maybe mid to high 80s. I don't know. I don't even think it was in the high 80s, mid 80s. And so I go out with my fire control and my protector rear bag, which weren't horrible for what I was doing. I throw down his Remington, shot a 198.
Wow.
Right. And I was like,
drastic difference.
Literally went to Cabela's the next day, took whatever they'd give me for the RPR, went to my gunsmith, who wasn't my gunsmith at the time, but the gunsmith that everybody else was using. And I said, Terry, tell me what to order. And he goes, okay. And he literally gave me a list and I ordered everything to build my first 284 that day. So I ordered my Defiance actions. I ordered my barrels. I ordered my triggers. I ordered, I bought everything that day. And like 2 or 3 months later, I had my gun and instantly was shooting like clean targets at 600. And I was like,
wow.
Oh, I'm like, man, that was a rough two and a half years.
Wow.
About 2 years, I think it was. I see 2013, yeah, like 2 years.
So that's my point. Sometimes the best thing somebody can tell you is how your gun sucks. You know what I mean? A lot of people.
You mean the truth?
Well, a lot of people take huge offense to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know.
And I think that's the reason a lot of people just don't say anything. You know what I mean? And you've seen it happen, and you see people over there, and they're like, well.
Yeah, because I've done it to people now. You've done it to people,
Well, yeah, I know, but often, and that's how I know that sometimes people take offense to that. Because I'll go up and I'm like, hey, and he's like, no, this is what I like and whatever, you know what I mean? And they just, but yeah, I mean, see, here's the thing. I treat people the way I would treat me, or I wish somebody had treated me when I was in that situation. I mean, you kind of wish somebody had came up to you sooner than that, and a year into it, before your third RPR,
10 grand.
Before your third RPR, and said, "Hey, just it's not you, it's the gun." You know what I mean?
Well, so I think I fell into a very common trap, and tell me if you've seen this before. So the reason I went through 3 RPRs is I had 2 very big misconceptions. The first was that a custom gun, and this was from 10 years of being in the gun business. Now, the gun business is not the shooting business. It is very different.
Right.
After 10 years in the gun business, I was fully convinced that custom guns were worthless because as a gun store, you don't want them. They're not sellable, right?
Correct.
So that was my first misconception. I'm better off with a name brand quality gun, like an RPR, which there's nothing wrong with the gun. It just isn't for what we do.
Yeah, it's just not the right purpose.
It's just not the right tool. So, but I was like, well, it's a Ruger. Everybody wants one. I can always resell it. So it was a safety net, right? I was scared to take that leap into a custom gun because I had no appreciation or understanding of the shooting market that drives the custom guns, which is totally different and actually retains far more value than the name brand gun store gun. And so for me, that was the first takeaway. The other was, I don't know what I want to shoot. So I need to be a jack of all trades. I need to buy a gun that is jack of all trades, master of none. And I think it took me longer to realize I was an F-class guy than it should have. And maybe that would have saved me one of my RPRs. But people had told me, hey, you might want to build an actual F-class gun. And I was scared. I was scared to put the money into a custom gun because I didn't know if that was my direction. And so I think that's a trap that I see people fall into a lot now. And so I see it when I new shooters come in and they're like, oh man, you shoot so good. You know, I need to buy a new gun. And I'm like, okay, what do you want to shoot? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, then I'm not going to tell you to spend the money if you don't know what you're going to shoot. But if you want to shoot F-class, just spend the money now. Well, I don't know, and then like I did leave out one step in there. I did buy a Savage target in between the RPR and my custom gun just to bridge me while I was waiting for my custom to get built. But actually not a bad gun for $1,000, but definitely not a custom Defiance or Borden or any of those. I tell people, look, it's hard when you don't know what you want to do. And I understand it's hard to commit, but if you want to shoot the matches that we shoot and you want to compete at the level we do, I'll give you the formula right now and save you, $5 or $10 grand. So yeah, I see it all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's the trap that we all fall into, right? It's not committing.
Yeah.
I had somebody, I mentor people quite often. And 5-6 years ago, I had somebody that, friend of mine, and he wanted to get into the game, into F-class. And his first rifle, he said, what should I buy? I said, oh, okay. Long story short, he bought a Manor stock, bat action, March scope, Seb Neo rest, just the works. And guess what? He got really good, really fast. You know what I mean? Because often people, the misconception that they have is the rifle shoots better than I do, so I'm not going to upgrade until I can shoot better than the rifle. Well, that's just that's what's known as an infinite loop, right?
Yeah.
You just stuck in that loop of thinking the rifle can shoot better than you, but you don't know that because you're never going to shoot better than that, and you don't know what's holding what back, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that I subscribe to is make the rifle as good as possible, the load, everything as good as possible, and don't get stuck for the trap of, oh, the rifle shoots better than I do. Well, go make sure that it does.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that the people who subscribe to that, and I to be honest, in the past, I've subscribed to that theory too, right? I was of the belief that I need to go up in steps. I needed to grow my ability, then get a little better gear, then get a little better, then grow my gear. The reality is you can go from 0 to 100 in gear and then work on everything else. And I do wish that I had done that. I mean, it would have saved me a lot of money.
The bottom line is this, right? People think, oh, my rifle shoots better, like your Ruger RPR, whatever. If you thought it shot better than you, then how come nobody else that's beating you shooting a Ruger? You know what I mean? Because it's so that's one kind of easy way to tell. But so this happened when I started. I was on the same boat. I didn't know if I was going to go into F-class or silhouette, so I was doing both. Because Mark Farr was one of those guys that's kind of had me, helped me get started, and he's a silhouette shooter, but he also did F-class. Long story short, we're at a state championship one year, and Mark Farr was also a gunsmith, right? He built silhouette rifles. And as well as being a national silhouette champion, right? So the guy not only knew how to shoot them, he built them as well. So we're at a match, and this guy has his daughter there, and she's shooting, and she has this little rifle. And Mark tells her dad, he said, hey, he goes, we should build her a rifle. And he's like, nope. He goes, we're not going to build her a rifle until she shoots in the, low 20s, right? Because she was shooting like low 10s, like she was in the teens, like 12, 13 points out of 40, right? For the day. She was only shooting like, she was only getting like 10 or 12 hits for the day, right?
Yeah.
And Mark's like, we should build a rifle. And he's like, no, I'm not going to build a rifle until she gets into the 20s, right?
Yeah.
Because the rifle was so short, it wouldn't fit in the rifle stand. And she tried to put it there where it barely would catch, right? Well, the rifle falls over, scope breaks, something happened. She can't shoot the rifle anymore, right? So Mark Mark Farr goes, he goes, I got my backup rifle in the truck. She can shoot that, right? So fine. He goes and lets her shoot his new rifle. I think she shot in the 30s.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So her dad wouldn't buy her a new rifle until she got better, but it wasn't, the rifle was holding her back. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Mark hands her his rifle, and now she went. They have classes in silhouette, and I don't remember what they are, but the point is, she shot like 2 classes above her current class, just with a different rifle. I mean, just unbelievable difference. You know what I mean? Yeah. So oftentimes. This is what I say, people, just go build the best rifle that you can, and don't experiment. Do not experiment. This is another thing that people should do. Do not experiment. Go build what others are building that is shooting well. Copy everything. Literally copy everything. Here's the recipe. Go build the abort and action. There's a lot of other good ones, but board and action, I'm just going to tell you what I do. Board and action, Brooks barrel, Flavio Faré trigger, stocks. There's a lot of good ones. I use a Shirley Brothers lowrider, but I don't even know if they make those anymore. But Will makes those 0 stocks. Then there's X-Ring, Macmillan stock. There's a lot of good stock that you can get that F-class guys are using. Manners is a really good one. And get you a good scope, Collis, Night Force, March, Vortex, even that Golden Eagle is a good scope, and get you a good mount, and get you a set rest, and you're gonna want 180 hybrids, Lapua brass, and that's it. A 284, build a 284, and that's it. Go and get that shooting. The reason I say don't experiment from the get-go is this, right? You want to start with something that everybody else is having success with. That's going to be the shortcut to find out if you can tune a rifle. Yeah. And number 2, if you can shoot a rifle. But number 1, you have to be able to tune it, right? So you have to start with something that everybody else is having no issues tuning. Once you do that, you get some success with it. If you want to experiment, go ahead. Go ahead and experiment. But first, you have to have that baseline to be able to tune something that's proven, it's easy to tune, and that's going to help you become a better shooter. Yeah. Again, after that, just what I'm saying is, don't start with this wildcat that, oh, you know what? It's my first rifle, and if I'm going to do this, I might as well change the shoulder here. Don't do any of that. Not yet. Go start with a proven platform. Yeah. And then you could change if you want, but yeah, I suggest that you don't, but if you want to. Yeah. You kind of fell for that, didn't you? I did. Okay, so
no, I totally did. I think here's what happens. You shoot well. You find yourself in the midst of people, that are at the top, and when you can see the top, when you feel like you're not that far from it, then you start to wonder what it's going to take to get to that, right? And sometimes you don't know. Is it your body position? Is it your loading techniques? Is it your gun? Is it your ammo? Is it, why can't I shoot a clean at 200? Why am I always shooting a 199? Or what? At 1,000 yards? Why is it I just can't clean a target? And if I could clean a target, then I could be in the top 10, right? And that's a struggle for a lot of people, myself included. 1 or 2 points on every relay adds up real fast. And, when you've got the Cortinas and Todds and Jays and, everybody else at the top, Keith and all these guys, when they're dropping 6 or 8 points on a match, on an entire 2 days of shooting, it's very easy to fall into the 20th, 30th position when you're dropping 2 or 3 per match. Right. And so it doesn't seem like a lot to people. They go, oh, you only dropped 2. Yeah, but 6 guys drop none, and so 1 or 2 points starts adding up very quickly. And it's easy to get in your head and be like, what do I need to do to catch those 1 or 2 points? Oh, maybe I need a bullet with better less wind drift, or maybe I need better BC, or I need a better powder, or I need a this or that. And so, yeah, I totally 100% fell into that trap. And here was what happened to me. And I've been very open about this in the past is, I went into the must have been 2019 Burger Southwest, feeling really good. I was shooting good. I think I took third in mid range, and then I just sucked it on long range. Lost a ton of vertical. I think I almost finished second page, if I don't remember right. I mean, it was really bad. Like my degradation from mid range to long range. And I told myself, well, it must be something other than me, right? Because if I did that well at mid range, then something in my gear fell apart for long range. It couldn't have been me. And so it was right around the time that Burger came out with those 190s, and well, Burger wouldn't come out with 190s if they weren't a ballistically superior bullet, and they are a fantastic bullet, but I was convinced that bullet was going to change me, not my ability to load a different bullet or that bullet or whatever. So I load up the 190s, and they were shooting great. And I was like, nobody else is shooting these. I've got the answer, right? Like, forget these guys still shooting 180 relics, and like, I've got the ballistically superior bullet. This thing's gonna kill it. What I failed to pay attention to is that the caliber I was shooting wasn't really optimizing, actually the speed and stuff that I was shooting, it wasn't really optimizing that bullet. And so I was sort of lying to myself in its performance at the time. And then I told myself, well, that's not the problem. The problem is I was shooting a 284 Shaheen. Like, why am I trying to shoot these just stop. So why am I trying to shoot these 190s out of a Shaheen at 2950? I should be shooting a Magnum. That's my problem. I need to be shooting 190s out of a Magnum. That's my problem, because I know Burger makes great bullets. I'm just not giving the bullets their full due. So then what did I do? And for those that don't know, I'm a big all or nothing guy. I have very little in my shop that doesn't get used. So if I'm not using a caliber, if I'm not using something, I sell it. So I switched to a 7 mag. And what did I do? Sold all my 284 stuff, all my standard, all my Shaheen, all the 284 went out the door, because I said, I don't want to have the 284 in my garage as a crutch, right? I want to commit to it. You're laughing.
I'm not laughing.
Said, I want to make sure that I'm committed to this caliber. I don't want to have anything in my garage that's going to say, well, if I loaded the 284, maybe I should do that instead. So I committed to this 7 mag for 6 or 8 months. And again, mentally, I told myself, I'm going to have an upper hand. Not a lot of guys are shooting Magnums. They're shooting the wrong Magnums. They're trying to shoot 30 mags. I'm going to shoot a 7 mag, and I'm going to solve this problem. And to be honest, I just didn't have the experience or the knowledge, and I still don't, to solve that problem. So I went to nationals with my 7 mag, and it's not a 7 Magnum. It was a variant Wildcat, but I get to nationals, and I really thought I had this thing solved, and it was just killing. I was shooting H1000 powder, and I mean, I was shooting the 190s just stupid fast, and I thought I had this thing dialed in, and it just wasn't. And the Magnum was just causing me issues. I was getting flyers out of it as gun control. It was all these different things. And on the last day, Todd, who's a friend of ours, and again, one of the most generous guys you'll ever meet on the line, he comes up and he's like, dude, John, and he could tell, like, I was literally crying. Like, I don't cry at matches, and I was in tears in my car. I was just a wreck, right? Because it's a mental thing at nationals. You're spending a week shooting. And not only that, it's expensive. Like, I'm not rich. I'm fortunate that I can shoot where I want to shoot and with stuff, but that's a couple $1,000s to go shoot there. By the time you drive, lodging, food, ammo, I had $1,000 worth of ammo alone, so it's like, I was crushed. I was mentally crushed at nationals. I was so mad at myself. I was ready. I literally was ready to give up the sport, because I just was so mad at myself for doing things. And I just told myself I didn't deserve it. I didn't deserve to be here. I didn't deserve to be in the company of you guys. Like, I just couldn't learn my lessons. And Todd came up to me, he goes, dude, you need a break. And I'm like, I know I'm probably not going to shoot. And he's like, no. He goes, you need a break from your own gear. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, here, this is my backup gun. And when Todd says he has a
yeah.
when Todd says he has a backup gun, he means this is the fourth gun in my arsenal that I have in my truck that could still win nationals.
Yeah.
So he hands me his bottom gun and he goes, here, he goes, I'm not going to shoot this. Go shoot it. I go and get 2 bronzes in team and a gold on individual the next day and a half. And I was like, oh my God, like,
well,
I can shoot.
let's saying you got a golden individual. It's I don't think it hits home for a lot of people.
No.
That means tell them what that means to win a gold in individual. This is not the aggregate. So you weren't the national champion.
It's not aggregate. No.
But tell them what it means.
Well, so every relay at nationals has the opportunity to win a gold, silver, or bronze. And at a normal match that we attend, there's maybe 10, 20, 30 guys at the most, who are high caliber shooters. At nationals, you're looking at 140, 160 open shooters, 120 high masters, countless national champions, countless Southwest national champions, countless state champions. And so to outshoot all those guys, and look, I take some of it with a grain of salt. I get it. It's one relay. There's conditions. There's this and that. But the bottom line is, for one relay, I outshot everybody in the country. And the feeling that you get from that, no matter how you feel about it, is incredible. And I've been very fortunate. And there's a lot of guys who have shot for years who never get a medal, who never walk away with a day medal of any kind. And so, the fact that I've won some, helped reinstill that I'm in the right sport, that I'm trying to do the right things. And it was hard, because Erik's actually one of the first people that I talked to after I won that medal. And I said, well, it doesn't matter. I said, I might as well throw this gold away. And he's like, why? And I go, because it wasn't my gear. He goes, who cares? He goes, you think everybody else would have gotten a gold with Todd's gun? I go, I don't know. He goes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly, man. Because you just,
again, and I'm hard on myself.
You were not at all giving yourself enough credit, because you know who else was shooting not only Todd's rifle, but Todd's better rifle.
Todd.
Todd, yeah. Todd himself, and you beat Todd. You know what I mean? Not only did you beat Todd, you beat everybody else. Yeah. Yes, you had a better rifle, but you still had to shoot it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think to this day you still don't give yourself enough credit for that, because, like I said, it wasn't only Todd's rifle. It wasn't even his top rifle, because I'm pretty sure he was shooting his top rifle.
Yeah, he
was. For you to pull off a win, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, Todd ended up second at nationals that year, second or third
for the whole ag. He was second.
Oh, the whole ag. So
no, he was third.
For those of you that don't understand, he was only a point behind.
Yeah.
So we have 3, 6. What is it? 10 total matches, right? Or 10 total.
3, 6, 8.
Okay. Yes. 8. I call them stages. But what are they? Like a match is.
They call them matches. We do have the goofiest naming system in FClass.
Because it's a match, but then they also, so the way it works is you have, let's say in one day you have 3 matches. So that would be match 1, 2, 3. And at the end of the day, you have match 4, which is the aggregate of those 3 matches, right?
Then you have match 5, 6, 7, then match 8, which is the aggregate of 5, 6, 7.
And then long story short, right? You can win one match, which is just 20 shots. Yeah. Or the national champion is the person that wins the aggregate, which is the highest score for all matches together, right?
Yeah.
So you won. Was it one match, or did you win the aggregate on the day? You still did pretty good, right?
I think I got
third. I think
I honestly don't remember. I want to say. Oh no, you know what? That's right. I had bronze. I had bronze for one match in team, and then I had bronze on the day, gold for a relay.
Yeah. So you got gold on the relay, but then for the day you got third place for. And this is 3 matches together.
Yeah.
So again, John did amazingly well. And
this is how I feel about my medals. Unfortunately, they're in a drawer.
Yeah, mine are in the tub as well. It's one of those things that are in the moment, and they're great to go back and pull them out every now and then and kind of look at them. But yeah, I mean,
I appreciate that.
That was great performance. You know what I mean? And like I said, you're just not giving yourself enough credit. So anyway, so you shoot Todd's rifle, and you all of a sudden you're spanking everybody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I remember it was like two different people, man. When I saw you after shooting your Magnum, and then I saw you when the match was over, you sitting on the tailgate of the truck, and you're swinging your feet, and you're just so like a little kid, so excited. So tell us how that changes your mindset, because I mean it was a drastic difference.
It was a drastic change. So here's what it did for me, and I've talked about this, is that it sort of put my mind in the right groove, right? It said, look, with the right gun, the right load, with the right stuff, I know that I can shoot, right? So it took that doubt out of it. And then what it did is it reaffirmed that I was just doing the wrong things with my gear. I thought I was smarter than everybody else. I wanted to, somehow I thought that I wanted to gear myself, whether it's ammo or gun or whatever, but in this case, ammo, I wanted to gear myself an advantage. And, the truth is that it's really tough to gear yourself into an advantage at that level, because everybody's shooting top level gear. And to think that a particular caliber on any given day is better, I think is one of the biggest faults that people in FClass face, because I've watched Todd and Jay and Keith and everybody else just spank Magnums with a regular 180 grain 284 bullet. And I have to always remind myself, I won on that day with 180 grain straight 284s. And no amount of, we know guys that take 338 Magnums out and try to shoot FClass, right? Like, bigger isn't always better. And so I have to remember that with the right gear, which for me is a 284, 180 grain Lapua, Lapua brass, 180 grain burgers, I know that I can do the job. And so that's where my focus has been, because I know that I have the tools to do it. And I don't have all the tools, but I know I have the tools to achieve it, and I'm getting better at the other tools. But I know what I need to do to achieve it now. And so it's taken a lot of my personal doubt in my ability to shoot out. I used to think, I can't read wind. Oh, it's a wind issue. It's a this issue. It's a whatever. No, I know that I'm on the right path with all those, and I'll continue to improve on those. But for me, it was like a slap in the face going, this isn't the right path. Like, you're not some wildcatter, you're not Bill Shaheen. You're not going to reinvent something that everybody in the world's going to use. And I thought I was, and it's okay to, I don't want to say be a follower, but it's okay to say what wins matches, right? What wins matches. I want to shoot what wins matches. I don't want to shoot what might win a match and look cool 1 out of 50 times. And I want to be a consistent performer at matches. I don't care about winning every match. I want to win every match, but I want to be an upper level shooter at every match. And I know that I have to have the right gear to do that. So,
well, it's simple, right? Seems simple. But for example, if I was talking to Jack Neary, right? And Jack Neary, if I was to go shoot short range bench rest right now, I'd build six PPC. You know what I mean? I'd call Jack or I'd call Speedy and say, hey, tell me what to get. I mean, I've been in the shooting sports for a long time, but at the same time, I have to admit what I don't know, right? And if I was going to go shoot short range bench rest, I would pretty much go to Speedy and say, hey, use your reamer, use your breath, whatever. Just tell me everything. I'm just going to copy everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. That is literally the shortcut, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, what are you using? Oh, I'm using a 6 PPC. Oh, you know what? I'm probably going to change the shoulder. I'm going to change the taper angle, and I'm going to get a little more speed. And I'm going to nope, none of that. None of that. If I was going to go shoot 600-yard bench rest, or I think even 1,000-yard, I'd probably build a dasher or a BRA or whatever's winning. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then I just copy whatever they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's what's okay.
I'd find whoever's winning, or like Wheeler, Alex Wheeler. He does a lot of bench rest stuff. I'd call him and said, "Hey, give me the specs for the reamer, or heck, chamber me a barrel." You know what I mean? And I do my own barrel work, but I wouldn't mind paying Alex Wheeler to just fast forward my learning curve barrel wise. You know what I mean? Or reamer wise, and then just give me all the dimensions, and I'll just tell me what to turn the next to, and I'm done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, I think one of the things that I see a lot of is a lack of appreciation for what goes into maybe a caliber that people don't expect that wins, like, and we're talking about maybe like some of the Magnums, or, even like the 284 Wheeler or something like that. Like, people see a caliber come on the scene and they go, oh man, he must have thrown that together. And, he already knew what he was doing. And like, they don't realize that, what was Alex went through, like, what, 30 or 40 reamers and, thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds and, countless barrels and years of work, just to modify a caliber to make it a little bit better. And so I think when people see a Magnum show up on the line and it wins, and, and you shoot with a lot of guys that shoot Magnums, and, I think people see a Magnum come on the line, and when it wins, it's very intimidating. It's intimidating as a non-Magnum shooter to go, man, like, maybe I should be shooting a Magnum. And I know you've been down the Magnum route too. But I think that happens in a lot of disciplines, right? I'm sure it happens in PRS. Somebody brings some new whiz bang 6 mil out there, and suddenly everybody has to have it. Or, even in bench rest, there's 30 BR and 22 PPC and some of these other calibers, but somebody brings out a new caliber. And unless it's somebody that people know have spent countless time, barrel, money, everything developing, you have to take the results with a grain of salt, right? Like, even if let's say I had won nationals, right? Like, let's say by some stroke of luck, I went out with this unknown Magnum that was designed for hunting, that I thought was going to be amazing for FClass. And let's say I won nationals. Like, do I really think that you and Todd and Keith and all these other guys would have been like, oh man, John won nationals with a modified 7 SAUM. We better all build those. Like you guys, you'd be like, it was luck. Like, yes, he shot well, but the fact that caliber performed one time for him, we're not going to change all of our knowledge and experience based on one time.
Here's a good example. Here's a good example that happened just nationals, mid-range nationals, right? The dasher has really never done well at mid-range nationals. Just the combination of because to have no wind or little wind for that stretch of time, 3 days, it's really hard to have, right? Yeah. So the dashers have always, it's a great cartridge, right? But for group shooting, it's great. But for score shooting, it's not, because just it pushes you out more and everything that goes with it, right? So typically the mid-range nationals, John Myers won it 3 or 5 years. I don't even remember how many years in a row with the 300 WSM, right?
Yeah.
It's been won by 284s. It's been won by big rifles. Just this one year, it was won with a dasher.
Yeah.
Where the conditions were consistent. I'm not gonna say mild, but they were consistent for the entire time, and he was able to pull off the win. Great. That's a great accomplishment. However, I've already started seeing comments of like, oh, I guess the dasher can win. And see, I knew the dasher could do it. And all of a sudden they take that one example and all of a sudden they want to say, well, the dasher is the greatest cartridge ever. It's fine if you want to try, but
yeah,
Roger shot his behind off, and the winds were just such that it allowed him to the dasher to not be a hindrance to him, to his score.
And he's a fantastic shooter. I mean, I shot on team with him, you know, and he was shooting a 6.5 at 1,000.
Right.
Does it mean you should always shoot a 6.5? No, but that particular team day, it was pretty mild, and he had more confidence in his 6.5. But if we had one team with a 6.5, I don't think you would have seen everybody switching to a 6.5.
Right. But anyway, so that's the thing, right? It's one example is not enough, right?
Yeah.
You have to remember that everybody used to shoot 6.5s back in the day.
Yeah.
Right. And then Charles Ballard, he started shooting a 284, right? And he was one of those. So now we're giving an example of where something can work.
Yeah.
But everybody didn't change right away. He went and won the Nationals with his 284, right? And he was just setting records and everything. And then still nobody followed. Second year, he wins it again. And they're like, okay, now we have, and yeah. He was setting national records and everything. And then everybody else started trying the 284s, and now everybody shoots a 284. So this is 2013. That's when Ballard, I think, won the Nationals. 2012 and 13, I think, or 13 and 14. But he just, and now everybody shoots 284. But again, the 6.5s were king at one point, but the 284 is just a lot more consistent. Plus, you know, now we have the hybrids, you know, back, you know, people, you know, Berger developed a better bullet and all that came with it, you know, but
yeah. And who knows, maybe someday someone will show a Magnum that repeatably, you know, like it's bound to happen, right? There's going to be a Magnum that somebody finally shows is consistent.
Magnums shoot. Don't think they don't, right? Here's the problem with a Magnum. The barrel life is short. So you're always developing a new barrel. You know what I mean? Whereas a 284, you work up a load, and now you have 1,500 rounds, 1,600, 1,800 that you don't have to worry about, right? Yeah. Whereas a Magnum, if you push it, you're probably going to get 1,000 rounds, 1,200. Yeah. At 1,200 is the most I've heard. Some of them are Jim Murphy. I think he told me he was getting 700 rounds out of his. Can you imagine? I mean, 700 rounds. If you go to, here's the problem, right? You go to the World Championship, it's about 600 rounds.
Yeah.
You got to bring two rifles. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or two barrels. And it's just complicated. But there's no doubt that they can shoot, right? I think it takes a little more to get them to shoot consistently. But yeah, they can shoot. But yeah, and that's I think what makes them so appealing, because when they shoot great. But
it's I'm telling you, like, even to this day, it's still like, look, I'm going to be shooting in 2 weeks up at Deep Creek against, you know, probably almost the entire top 20 board of nationals, right? I mean, all the guys from Texas, you know, Todd, Jay, Keith, like probably 20 or 30 heavy hitters are going to be up at Deep Creek. And it is one of the calmest ranges in the country. It is about as close to a wind tunnel that you can get at 1,000 yards. It's where bench rest records are set. I mean, it is a fantastic range. It will be very interesting to see how everything stacks up there this year, because this is the first year that all those guys from Texas have come up, and a lot of the Midwest guys. And so it'll be very interesting to see what happens this year, because I know a lot of those guys are going to be shooting their, you know, 30 BBMs and their, you know, modified 7 mags and, you know, all those different things. Yeah. So it'll be very, very interesting. But, you know, I do tell people, don't get caught up in what if, right? Get caught up in what does. And if you want to just come out and you want to shoot and you want to compete in FClass, 284 does. And you know, take some time with it, and then you can worry about what if. But worry about what does first.
All right, John, man, I do really appreciate this interview. These are the type of conversations you and I often have, and I just wanted to make sure that I share it with people, because it's interesting, you know, and your philosophy and the things you went through, your ups and downs, and what has cost them is interesting, right? Because a lot of people go through that, and a lot of people, I think, get discouraged when they shoot bad, and they think I'm just not a good shooter. Well, no, oftentimes it's just that you don't have the right gear, or you're just not in the right mental you don't have the correct state of mind for shooting.
And that's just it. It's not just a physical cost. It's not a monetary cost. It's a mental cost that comes with these mistakes. And they do build on you. So you've got to have some wins. You've got to have people that'll support you. Like, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have support, right? Like, I'm a pretty isolated person, but when it comes to this discipline, you can't do it alone. You have to have people that know how to joke with you, that know how to build you up, that, like, you can be the most amazing person in so many ways, because when to come up and kick me in the nuts, and when to slap me in the face. And then sometimes when to just hug me, right? But it's because we're friends, and Todd does the same thing, and David does the same thing. Like, we all help each other, and we all want to see everybody succeed, and even the new people, but we just know each other better, so it doesn't come off the same. But there's a huge mental cost to all these mistakes, and if you don't have a support group around you, you probably won't weather the mistakes. It's tough.
All right, I'm gonna have to out myself. Or remember when? Okay, so you went back to the 284, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I watch your YouTube channel, right? And so I'm watching FClass John on YouTube, and now you're back to the 284, right? And you talk about this Peterson brass, and hey, it happened. All right.
So are we going to talk about that conversation?
We're going to talk about that conversation, John.
Oh my God.
Because this goes back. This goes back to do what works, right? So I call you, and I saw you're testing your Peterson brass, and I call you up and I said, WTF, dude. And you're like, what? I'm like, WTF. I said, what the heck was Todd shooting in his rifle? And you're like, well, he was shooting Lapua brass. I said, okay, copy that. And you're like, well, this Peterson brass is supposed to be really good and blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm not denying that. It may be great, whatever. However, you need to first copy what Todd was shooting. And of course, I don't think you like to hear it at the time, but that's where I left it. I said, look, dude, just copy everything Todd was doing and be done with it. And about 2-3 days later, I get a text from you, and you're like, this is why Lapua is great. And you had like this tiny ES or SD numbers through your rifle. And again, I'm not knocking Peterson, but the whole fact that even after you try to copy even after you found out what worked, and you still were just not 100%.
So you're leaving out one part of that conversation that, to be honest, was pretty critical, which is what happened is Erik said, look, if you're going to do this, you need to go back to what works. Here's what Todd was using. And it was like 2 weeks later, and he goes, why are you still using Peterson? And then we had that conversation. And the one thing that Erik left out, and I probably know why, but I'll just tell you that it did have a profound impact on me, because I think people get sometimes they get a bad idea of you sometimes because of your personality, and they don't understand how generous you are. But Erik goes, look, I'm not going to keep helping you if you're not going to keep listening. And I was like, yeah, you're funny. He goes, no. He goes, I'm not kidding. He goes, I've got better things to do. He goes, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to be rude about it. He goes, I want to help you succeed. But if you're not going to take my advice and try it, it's not worth my time to keep wasting my air. And I was like, dude, he's right. Like, why do I think, like, look, Erik doesn't know everything. I don't know everything, but Erik knows a hell of a lot more than I do. And he's been down a lot more roads. And so I really and he was, to be honest, kind of pissed at me. And I could tell. And I was like, here I am abusing a friendship where he's trying to help me. I'm not listening. And he basically was saying, look, I'll still be friends with you, but like, I'm not going to actually be helping you because you're not listening to what I'm saying. And he goes, it doesn't mean I know what doesn't mean I know everything. He goes, but I know these things. And if you're not going to try them before you do your own thing, then I'm not going to waste my time. And that was also a pretty profound moment for me, because it wasn't just Erik, it was other people that I was ignoring too. And I said, okay, like, he's right. Like, just because I think I can shoot on the same level doesn't mean I know what they know. And if I'm not going to listen, and if I'm not going to try what they tell me first, then why am I even trying to solicit their advice? Like, I think Erik sent me something not long after that said, people don't want to hear your advice. They just want to hear their advice from your mouth. And I was like, yeah, right. Like, well, I kept trying to, yeah. So anyway,
this goes back to the just copy what works, right?
Yeah.
And then you can deviate from that. You know,
yeah.
You were going back to 284. You're going back. You had some barrels made or whatever. And the first thing you did is you start changing stuff before you even proved it to yourself. You know what I mean? That's why I was like, and I was upset because here we are. Okay. Let me tell you why I was upset. Right? Again, I still have it just burnt into my memory how happy you were. I'm telling you, I'm literally looking at you right now in your shorts. He was wearing shorts, sitting on the tailgate, just swinging your feet, just excited. I mean, just happy because you had just got those medals, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we need to get this guy back to that all the time. And that's when I said, let's do this, right? And then the very first thing you do is you go and do something else. And I'm like, that's when I was like, okay, this is, you know, so that's, I had to have your rifle sucks moment, right, with you. But this one was like, you are not listening. You are not listening to people that are trying to help you. And, you know, if you're not going to listen, we're still friends, whatever. But whatever you ask, I'm just going to, look, man, just do whatever you want, you know, because ultimately that's what you're going to do anyway. But after that day, you switched and all of a sudden you're shooting cleans and you're shooting really, really good. Just amazing. And now you're even wearing the shirt now. But anyway, that's it. Just one of those things that needed to be said, you know, and I'm sorry I had to be the one to say it, but you know, it's just, you know how I am. I'm very direct. And again, I'm not, could have still been friends, but it was, you literally were going to lose hey man, I'm having this issue. But yeah, I'm glad you didn't take it the wrong way and you took it for what it was of me trying to help you. And here you are now, you know, now you're going to go and set a record at Deep Creek in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, John, what's next, man? What's coming up?
Well, I got a new barrel that I'm developing. I've got a regional. I've got the Oregon, like some regional next week. I've got Deep Creek, which is another regional 2 weeks after that. And then I have the Washington State Championship in October. So 3 big matches, lots of heavy hitters, lots of your teammates, a lot of really good shooters. So, you know, those are the matches that always make me better. And just really looking forward to finishing out this match year and then, you know, taking a month and a half break before we start getting ready for Burger.
There you go. All right, John. Well, again, thank you for this interview. And at least got a lot of people got to see your face finally. And awesome stuff. So thank you. You are helping me. You're one of my moderators on my forum, my members area. So John, if you're in my members area, you're going to see John hanging out and answering questions and helping people out because there's just so many people that need our help, John. And that's what we're doing. If you want to take a look at that forum, the link is in the description. It's on my website. I'm getting away from Patreon. I'm just getting away from anybody that has any chance that they could at any point kick me off because of gun related content. So decided to start my own website, put it all there, and it's all there. So if you guys want to come join and support us, we're there. Anything else, John?
That's about it for now. I'm going to get loading up and do some load development.
All right, man. John, thank you.
All right. Always good talking to you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya.